In 1999, a falconer named Ken Franklin released his Peregrine Falcon from the open door of a small aircraft at 17,000 feet. What happened next was documented by National Geographic using onboard computer tracking. The Falcon tucked its wings, pointed its head straight down, and fell. And it kept accelerating. Past 100 miles per hour, past 150, past 200. The tracker recorded a final speed of 242 miles per hour before the bird pulled out of the dive and caught its target. 242 miles per hour. That's faster than a Formula One race car at top speed, from a bird that weighs less than 2 pounds. And here's the thing. That wasn't even the most extraordinary fact about peregrine falcons. Not by a long way. Fact 1. The peregrine falcon is the fastest animal that has ever lived on Earth, and it hits speeds that should be physically impossible to survive. Let's put 242 miles per hour into context. A cheetah, the fastest land animal, maxes out at around 70 miles per hour. A peregrine falcon does more than 3 times that speed. A fighter jet pilot begins to experience dangerous G-forces at around 9 gs. At the bottom of a full hunting dive, a peregrine falcon pulls somewhere between 17 and 25 gs. Fighter pilots pass out 9. The falcon just catches its lunch. But here's what makes the speed genuinely baffling. At 200 miles per hour, the air pressure alone should be enough to catastrophically damage a bird's lungs. The force of air ramming into the nostrils at that speed creates a wall of compressed air that no normal respiratory system can handle. Engineers building the first jet engines in the 1940s ran into exactly this problem. Their engines were choking out at high speeds because incoming air was hitting a wall of pressure at the intake. And then someone suggested they look at a falcon's nose. Inside the nostril of a peregrine falcon, there are small cone-shaped bony structures called tubercles. These cones redirect incoming air into a spiral before it enters the nasal passage, slowing and distributing the pressure in a way that makes breathing possible at otherwise lethal speeds. When engineers designed those tubercles into the intake cones of jet engines, the choking problem was solved. The solution to one of the central challenges of early aerospace engineering was sitting inside the nose of a 2-pound bird that had been diving at 200 miles per hour for millions of years before we learned to fly at all. Fact 2. Peregrines hunt by striking prey at full speed, and they aim for a point in the future, not where the prey is now. Most predators chase their prey. They run or fly toward where the animal is, adjust continuously, and try to close the distance. A peregrine falcon does something fundamentally different. When it spots a target, typically a pigeon or duck in level flight below, the falcon doesn't dive toward the bird. It dives toward a point in the air where the bird will be by the time the falcon gets there. This is called predictive targeting, and it requires the falcon to calculate the trajectory, speed, and direction of a moving target, factor in its own acceleration rate and the effect of gravity on its dive angle, and commit to a single point in empty sky, all in a fraction of a second. The mathematics involved are essentially the same as firing an artillery shell at a moving vehicle, except the falcon does it instinctively at 200 miles per hour while also managing the aerodynamics of its own body. And here's what makes the strike itself so brutal. The falcon doesn't grab the prey with its feet on impact. At those speeds, a collision with an outstretched talon would likely break both the prey's neck and the falcon's leg simultaneously. Instead, the falcon balls its foot into a closed fist and punches the prey at full speed, delivering a kinetic impact that kills or stuns instantly. Then it swoops back around to collect what fell. What's fascinating is that this isn't random. Peregrines have been observed adjusting their strike technique based on the size of their target. Smaller birds get the full speed punch. Larger, more dangerous prey gets a more controlled approach. The falcon is making tactical decisions mid-dive at 200 miles per hour. Fact 3. A peregrine falcon can see its prey from 3 kilometers away, and its vision processes movement 8 times faster than ours. We talked in an earlier video about how eagle vision works, the dual fovea, the UV spectrum, the extraordinary light sensitivity. Peregrine falcon vision operates on a different set of principles, optimized not for distance in the dark, but for tracking fast-moving objects in bright conditions. The flicker fusion rate of a human eye, the speed at which we process visual information, is roughly 60 frames per second. A peregrine falcon processes at around 130 frames per second, more than twice as fast as us. What this means in practice is that while a pigeon flying at 30 miles per hour looks like a smoothly moving object to us, to the falcon it's moving in what might as well be slow motion. Each wing beat a distinct, predictable movement that can be tracked, calculated, and targeted with precision. Their vision is also tuned specifically to detect movement. A peregrine can spot a pigeon-sized object moving against a complex background from nearly 2 miles away. From a height of 1,000 feet, they can track a target the size of your fist moving at 30 miles per hour across a busy city skyline. And once they've locked on, they don't let go. The visual tracking system of a peregrine falcon is so precise that researchers have used it as a model for developing missile guidance systems. The mathematics of how a falcon adjusts its dive path to maintain a constant angle on its target, a technique called constant bearing decreasing range, is now used in the guidance algorithms of some of the most advanced military projectiles ever built. Fact 4. Peregrines nest on skyscrapers, and cities have made them more successful than they've ever been in the wild. The peregrine falcon's natural nesting habitat is cliff faces, high, exposed ledges on sheer rock walls that provide visibility in all directions and protection from ground predators. When humans started building skyscrapers, the falcons noticed something. Skyscrapers are cliffs, tall, sheer, with wide ledges at height, surrounded by open airspace, and full of pigeons. Today, peregrine falcons nest on buildings in nearly every major city in the world. New York, London, Chicago, Tokyo all have established urban falcon populations. And here's the extraordinary part. Urban peregrines are outperforming wild ones by almost every measure. City birds have access to unlimited prey. Urban pigeon populations provide a food source so abundant that urban falcons rarely need to hunt more than once or twice a day. They have fewer natural predators than cliff-nesting birds. And the thermal currents generated by heated buildings create ideal, soaring conditions year-round. The Mutual of Omaha headquarters building in Nebraska has had a nesting pair of peregrines since the 1990s. The pair that nests on the 55 Park Place building in New York City has been watched by hundreds of thousands of people via webcam. These birds aren't visitors to cities. They've moved in permanently. And the city, with all its glass and steel and pigeons, suits them better than the wilderness ever did. Fact 5. The peregrine falcon came back from the edge of extinction, and its recovery changed conservation science forever. By the early 1960s, peregrine falcon populations across North America and Europe had collapsed. In the eastern United States, the breeding population had fallen to zero. Not low, zero. The cause was DDT, a pesticide that accumulated up the food chain and caused the calcium in falcon eggshells to become so thin they shattered under the weight of the incubating parent. The recovery effort that followed became the template for every major bird conservation program that came after it. Scientists developed captive breeding programs, learning for the first time how to successfully breed birds of prey in control conditions. They pioneered a technique called hacking, where captive-bred birds were released into the wild from artificial nest sites and allowed to develop their hunting skills naturally before full independence. They lobbied for the ban on DDT that eventually came in 1972, and then they waited. By 1999, less than 3 decades after the ban, the peregrine falcon was removed from the endangered species list. The population had not just recovered. It had exceeded its pre-DDT numbers in many regions. What had been a species at functional extinction became one of the conservation world's greatest success stories. And the methods developed to save them, captive breeding, hacking, chemical regulation, have since been applied to save dozens of other species from the same fate. Here is what I think about when I watch a peregrine falcon dive. This bird hit 242 miles per hour with a respiratory system that engineers copied to build jet engines. It calculates ballistic trajectories in fractions of a second. It sees movement in what is effectively slow motion compared to us. It moved into our cities and decided it preferred them. And it came back from absolute zero, not one breeding pair in the entire eastern United States, to thriving populations on every continent except Antarctica. That's not just an impressive bird. That's one of the most complete organisms ever produced by 4 billion years of evolution. And it weighs less than a bag of sugar. If something in here surprised you, subscribe. Because what we have coming next is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the birds around you. New video dropping very soon. We'll see you in the files.